Hello, my name is Charles Feltman.
And my name is Hila Hedger, and we're here for another episode of Trust on Purpose.
In fact, it's the first episode from a rather long break. And so we're really glad to be back, and we hope you are glad to see us. Today, we're going to talk about a question that actually came up on a poll we took of LinkedIn followers. And we asked for some different questions, and this one kind of rose to the top for today anyway. And that is, how do leaders rebuild trust after they've made a perhaps somewhat significant error or mistake? And we want to be clear that leaders are human, and we make mistakes all the time. Some are small and some are big. And if you make a lot of small ones, it can damage trust. If you make one big one, it can damage trust. So the question really is, how do you rebuild? But we're going to look at specifically making one rather large error, mistake. How do you come back from that with your team, with your superiors, with your colleagues? So do you want to say anything before I jump into our example?
No, dive in, because I'm already I can't wait to dive into this one. It's a good topic.
So some years ago, a couple of years ago, actually more than a couple of years ago, I worked with a leader who had apparently more than once made commitments to customers or to internal stakeholders within the company on behalf of his team that, given all the other things that they were doing, they were unable to fulfill. And so needless to say, the brown stuff hit the fan. And at some point, sorry, I guess, yeah, let's just call it what it is. The shit hit the fan.
The shit hit the fan.
At some point, and he was kind of, his people were going, wait, stop. Well, first of all, the customers were upset because they weren't getting what was promised them. The internal stakeholders our customers were upset because they weren't getting. So this happened a few times. And he went back to his team and basically kind of put it on them as, why can't you do this? What's the matter? You need to just work harder. You need to do better. And that really damaged trust. It was already somewhat damaged because he didn't consult them. He didn't ask them at all what their schedules were or whether they thought it was even remotely possible to do these, keep these commitments that he made. And now he's blaming them for being unable to do it. So it put him in a bad place. And so there was a little bit of a process of helping him really kind of come to the point where he could hear his team and what they were saying and why they had lost trust in him. So where do you want to go with this? What were you thinking?
Well, just even as you're telling the story and the initial response back to his team about, you guys just have to work harder. I won't put up the double fingers, but let me tell you, that was a full body, screw you. How dare you attack my competency, my reliability, my sincerity, and my care. That was an immediate full body, how dare you? How dare you?
Yeah.
And so even then, I would probably have to walk away. Let that simmer down before there is any chance of a conversation or any awareness building at all. But I think as an initial realization of how even that language, never mind the decision, but then that language impacted his team. That's devastating. Absolutely devastating. Especially because I believe most of our lovely humans in this world wake up and want to do a good job. Not many of us are waking up going, hey, I'd really like to shit the bed today. Really like to be mediocre. Right. And so that initial even landing of those words, I had to have to sit with that for a minute. That really, really strikes me.
Yeah. And his team, they had varying responses. Some of them
Yeah.
had kind of like a couple of them had your level of response. Other people said, well, he's under a lot of pressure and sometimes he just doesn't think, sort of excusing him.
Yeah.
And sort of the whole range between those two. But what we ultimately did is the important part, which is that I helped him, first of all, begin to recognize that this was probably a bigger issue than he recognized or was giving it credit to be. He was kind of minimizing it. And that was one of his. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So can I ask there? So when the initial shit hit the fan, and then he relayed that message to his team, at what point did he start to realize this was a bigger oh shit than he thought it was? Tell us a little bit about that part.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember actually. It's been a while. I think what happened was that he was having some issues with some of his team members not really really working with him. They were just kind of trying to avoid him. And
which makes
didn't
sense.
understand. Yeah, right. No kidding. When you really distrust somebody, even if it's your leader, you kind of want to stay away from it.
Yeah.
Neurophysiologically, your body is saying, I don't want to be in the presence of this person that I don't trust. It makes me very uncomfortable. So there were some of his team that were outright avoiding him. Other people who would meet with him, talk with him, but wouldn't say much. So he was getting kind of concerned. And I was coaching at this time, so he brought it up. And he didn't understand quite what was going on. I mean, but it was important that he brought it up. If he hadn't, then nothing would have changed. But he did bring it up as a concern that he had in one of our sessions. And I said, well, let's talk a little more about what's going on. What do you think is going on? He said, I don't know. I had no idea. But to me, because I've been working with trust issues for a while, I heard distrust. That was blaring loudly out of his mouth to me. And so I said, well, maybe they are showing, to me, they're showing signs that they don't trust you. Maybe that's the case. What? How can that be? What have I done? Well, would you like to find out? And so we decided that we would hold a series of meetings about it with his team that I would facilitate. It turned out to be actually just 2, because in the first meeting, I talked with the team members individually beforehand and kind of prepped them that he wants to talk to you, and I think he genuinely wants to understand what's going on. And in the first meeting, I strongly recommended that he not say much of anything. That he just listen, which was really hard for him.
Oh, yeah.
He was, most of the time he was stuck on transmit. I mean, that's what got him in the problem in the first place. Is he wanted to make these commitments, and he just thought that it was okay. His team would figure it out.
Yeah.
And so that was part of the problem. And then when they didn't figure it out, and therefore didn't deliver, he got upset. So I told him, you got to just zip it. Listen. There will be a time for you to talk, but listen. Mm-hmm. And they, at first they were pretty shy, pretty timid about speaking up about what was going on.
Well, and of course, that's, I think, very natural given the situation that happened. And is it really safe for me to say what I want to say? Will he actually listen? And if he listens, will he actually take it in? Or will it be dismissed? Right? So all of this is also going on in this in these dynamics.
Right. So I had done a little prep with the team first, as I said. I
Yeah.
talked to each of them and I said, this is not going to change if you're not willing to speak up. I'll be there to facilitate, and I told him I will tell him that he really needs to listen. And so we'll see where it goes. And at first, like I said, they were kind of shy. And then a couple people, not the fire breathers who were in, kind of like where you were. That would have probably been a whole different meeting, but a couple of the people kind of more in the middle, not the excusers either, but a couple of people kind of in the middle said, well, here's what I'm concerned about. And I did say, please, speak first person also,
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
what we're concerned about. Something want to sound like, all colluded with each other to gang up.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm concerned about. And the first couple of people that spoke articulated the situation pretty well. And
Can I make a
Yeah.
point there? Because I think preparing them for the conversation, letting them know what the conversation was going to be about, and so that they had time to actually think about, maybe make some notes, be really clear about the points that they wanted to get across. That was really important too.
Yes,
Critical
it was,
step.
I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I think if that hadn't happened, it would have been, again, a different kind of conversation. So then other of the team members, well, and to his credit, this leader, after listening to the first couple of people, said, okay, I want to hear from the rest of you,
Oh, yeah.
which shifted the mood in the room. That really changed things, as you can imagine, because at that
Yeah.
moment, he's making himself really vulnerable and open. So other people chimed in, and the whole thing came out that, look, you made these commitments. They basically said, here's our complaint. You made commitments without consulting us. They were given all the other things that you've got us doing. It was just not possible. We needed your help to make decisions about priorities, but you weren't ever available. You were always off doing this and that. And then when the problem came up that we hadn't fulfilled the commitments, and you basically blamed us and told us we needed to work harder, that was really painful. That was really kind of hurt.
Yeah.
But that's the general. I mean, different people said it different ways, but that's what ultimately came out. And he did, to his credit, also listen. A couple of times he asked some clarifying questions. A couple of times he started to defend himself. And then I think I just kind of gave him a sideways look, and he stopped. To his credit.
Yeah, good for him.
And he stopped.
Good for him. Good for him.
And so they managed to get through that. And by the end of that session, he said, yeah, okay, I get it. I get what happened here. And I want to, so this is, now we come to the leader who made the mistake, right? This is what he was doing. He said, all right, I acknowledge that was not a helpful thing to do. It was not a good thing to do. That was not good leadership. And he apologized for it. And he said, I need to rethink how I do all of this. And that, at that point, we were kind of at the end of that time that we'd set.
Yeah. Yeah.
People had other things to do. And we had another meeting set up for like 3 days later or something like that. So in the second meeting, I suggested to this leader that he come back with a plan for what he was going to do that would be different, that he thought would help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which he did, and he opened with that, but then he said, again, to his credit, I suggested it, but he actually did it. He said, but I'd like to hear from you. What would really work for you? What would build trust for you?
Yeah. And I'm so glad that that part was added, because it's great. He can come up with all the great ideas and plans that he wants to, but it's not about him.
Right.
Right. And so that really critical question and that conversation about, I have ideas, but I'm going to put them aside because I want to hear from you. How can you help me set you up for success?
Yeah.
What do you need from
Luckily,
me?
he did start with his ideas, but then he stopped and said, but really, the concern is yours. You're the ones who have said you
Yeah.
trust me.
Yeah.
And I want to repair that. And so I need to hear from you. What's going to build trust with you? And that opened it up for them and it was good actually, because they did take a couple of his ideas, but then they also added a couple more and tweaked one of his, or a couple of his probably. And, so by the end of that second session, he had made a commitment to do some specific things that they had asked him to do, made a clear request. Essentially, it had become a clear request. And then he made a commitment based on that request, and they moved forward from there.
And I say this, it's just a little whisper of a couple of leaders that I had coached last year. And it was really interesting. They weren't about big mistakes, but these leaders were realizing that they needed to do something differently. That the way they were conducting their one-on-ones, or holding team meetings, or having these conversations wasn't working. And so they put this burden on themselves. I have to figure it out. Which actually, no, you don't. That's a big burden to hold. And why would you not embrace the collective wisdom of the group?
Yeah.
How do we do this together? How do we design this together? Using all of our ideas, right? And really being intentional about setting each other up for success.
Yes.
And that was it's a huge aha for these couple of leaders last year. The realization is like, oh, just because I'm the leader doesn't mean that I have to have it all figured out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have to have all the answers.
And that's, I think, especially important if you're trying to rebuild trust after making a big mistake. Yes, you have to show commitment to doing something different, to changing. You have to acknowledge what you did. You have to apologize for what you did, which means, owning it and saying, I'm really sorry for the harm that this has caused. And then, okay, now that moment comes when here's what I want to do going forward, but it's not just me, it's you. And in fact,
it's us.
It's us. Yeah.
It's us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love this example and I love walking through it. And thank goodness that you are already working with that leader. We know many, many incredible leaders that are out there trying to figure this out on their own. And so, what would we say to someone who is working with a coach or maybe is bumping into this for the first time? And they realize they've made an oh shit. Doesn't have to be a Mach 10, but maybe it's something where they go, oh, I see something and I need to do something differently. And I think as I say that out loud, that initial awareness is the first step. And not jumping right to defend and, push it away. We're just going to ignore it. But actually acknowledging, I think I've made a mistake.
See, that's the right place, because it's not, I've made a mistake and I know what it is and therefore I'm just going to go fix it. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do to fix it. But rather, I think I've made a mistake here. Am I right? Is there a problem? Have you lost trust in me? And if so, please tell me
Tell me.
Tell me why.
Please tell me. Yeah.
What have I done or am doing that's causing that to happen for you? And then from there build, okay, I get it. I see. If you do, if you don't, then you got to ask more questions. But if you do see what's going on, understand that these were the things that you did that caused distrust, then you can begin to have the question, have the conversation about, okay, well, first, acknowledge, apologize, and then begin to figure out what needs to change with the other people.
I would say maybe another possibility is that if you have a trusted work colleague, or you have strong trust with your leader, or a peer, or even your spouse or a good friend, to say, can I talk this through with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I've made an error. Can you just be a sounding board? I don't need you to solve. Just let me talk this through so I can hear my thought process. Beautiful gift that we can give each other.
That's true. Absolutely. And for the person who's been asked to listen, they really do need to mostly just listen.
Yeah.
It isn't, give some feedback about what you're observing about the other person, but not, oh, here's the solution to your problem, because 9 times out of 10, it won't be the right solution.
That's right. Right.
But more importantly, the person isn't looking for a solution.
Right. I'm looking for a sounding board. Just need you to listen. There's so much value. And I think going back to the leader that you were working with, he was able to voice out loud in a safe place with you. And that is so valuable, to be able to hear our own thoughts out loud.
Yeah.
In a trusted space where we're not being shamed or blamed or judged, finger wagged or told what to do. Rather, I can just start to speak these things out loud in a safe place so that I can start to understand.
Which is fundamentally what the value of one of the main values of coaching.
Right.
That you have someone who will be that person who can listen, who can reflect back, who can ask questions that open up new possibilities or ways of thinking. So that's why I love being a coach, because I think I do that fairly well, and I know you do.
You do.
So but if you don't have access to a coach, find someone else. Sometimes it's an HR person. Sometimes the HR people are trained in that, and can help a lot. So yes, finding someone who can be a listener, a sounding board for your thinking, can reflect back to you what they're hearing.
And I think the other thing that we haven't said explicitly, but it's really easy to defend. When we've done something, when there's been a mistake or a slip up, it's really easy to just, point the fingers. Didn't happen. It's no big deal. It takes courage to pause and dig in. It takes courage to do that, to look at ourselves in the mirror, to remember that we're not perfect. We're not supposed to be. And then to have those courageous conversations because we care. Because we truly care about the people that we lead and we work with.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that this particular story and many others that I could tell is so, should I say, so encouraging, is this particular individual, this leader, did care.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it to his team in the heat of those moments, but he did care, and he wanted to figure it out. He wanted to make it better,
Mhm.
not just for him, but for them.
For them. I know we've had, in many of our other episodes, we've talked about the importance of care. But I think sometimes in our busy world, and there's an oh shit moment, care is the one that can slip to the bottom. Because we don't have time for it. We don't know how to display it. Here, that's a nice to have. But we know foundationally it's the most important.
Mhm.
Coming from that
Oh.
place of care. Yeah.
And imagine how this whole situation would have been different if the first time the team, he went to the team and said, you're missing the deadlines here. And they started to talk about what the problem was from their perspective. He had said, let me listen, which is a move demonstrating care, but actually a move that comes out of care. In that moment, he fell back into self-defending, and that was unfortunate. But I think also he learned a heck of a lot.
I'm waving at my sisters. Hello, sisters. They're live on the podcast. I have two sisters peeking in my office window.
The Sisters of Mercy, or
My sisters, my oldest sisters. The sisters of ridiculousness.
okay, that's
Sisters of ridiculousness, yeah, they've shown up.
all right. Anyway,
Well,
so
this
is
has been
there
a
more
really-
that we want to say here, or is this kind of a good ending point for this particular episode?
I think we've covered a lot. I think we've dug into some really important behaviors, awareness, making requests, deep listening, courage, care, all of these things in our human form. And at the end of the day, we're all going to mess up. How about we embrace each other, hold each other, care about each other, and figure it out together?
Yeah, thank you, Ela. I think that's a great piece to end it with, because that will really move us all forward.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Yeah. Oh, it's so good to record another episode.
On behalf of both Charles and myself, we want to say a big thank you to our producer and sound editor, Chad Penner, Hillary Rideout of Inside Out Branding, who does our promotion, our amazing graphics, and marketing for us. And our theme music was composed by Jonas Smith. If you have any questions or comments for us about the podcast, if you have a trust-related situation that you'd like us to take up in one of our episodes, we'd love to hear from you at trust@trustonpurpose.org.
And we'd also like to thank you, our listeners. Take care and keep building trust on purpose.
Until next time.
Until next time.